Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to all my blessed beloveds out there in living and thriving land. I've had to reboot my computer 3 times just to try to get my camera to work. It's showing a light, but I don't actually see myself. Catherine, do you see me?
I do not see you.
Isn't that bizarre? It's been giving me a hard time today. You look beautiful, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Oh, looks like you might be coming in.
Hi. My camera is showing on, but it's not showing anything. So I don't know. It's very bizarre. Anyway, so I have been very privileged to be doing this video series all around the world. I've been to Spain a couple of times, Ireland, England, all over Canada. I love my Canadian brothers and sisters. Catherine is one of them. And we've been delving into the idea of
Oh, your audio's off.
how it's really playing with me today. Hopefully we can get through this. Some tips and tricks on getting through a pandemic and technological issues and life issues, because, you know, we've all gone through things. And this time period is just even more. And there I am.
Hi. Hi, Rusty.
Hi, beautiful. We're gonna get
Hi, beautiful.
So Catherine is also a podcast host, and we met a number of years ago, and I've always been inspired by her. I stalk her on a regular basis. She's on a lot of my social media. I find her a phenomenal woman. I find her courageous, and she's a trailblazer. So I don't know, are you still doing your podcast?
You bet. Actually, I'm still doing video shows, Let's Get Real, chatting with Catherine.
Yeah.
And I started a new series called Clarity Whisper on Podbean. It's on iTunes as well as a podcast, strictly audio, mostly me by myself, because I have a lot of subjects that I like to delve into and go deep. And sometimes I find guests that want to play with me in that arena, and sometimes I don't, and that's okay. I like to get thoughts out there and start discussions and about all kinds of subjects, more philosophy and still metaphysical as well, whatever, because everything's connected. So I like to talk about this world, this life that we live in, and help people to maybe see things in a different way. So yes, I'm still doing. And on top of that, I just started a documentary series, which is, yes, it's called Beyond the Front Door. The promo is on the YouTube channel right now, just to get people curious, interested. And because what happened is as I was interviewing people for all kinds of different topics, I was really inspired by the women who have been through a lot of adversity, a lot of challenges, and especially, you know, since the early 1900s, some of them are getting up there in age, and they went through some different times than we're going through today, with the stereotypes, with the limitations for women and so forth. So I wanted to talk to them, and because the wisdom was coming out, but I was noticing people holding back, and I thought maybe there needs to be a different venue for this, where people can really share some of those insights, to let people know what path we've taken as women, what we've had to overcome, what stereotypes, what oppression looks like. And the other part of it is to really look at the oppression that we often, because historically in these last maybe 30, 40 years, 50, it's been about the feminist movement, the revolution, the coming, you know, talking about women's rights, our right to vote, our right to own land, our right to determine our own bodies, different things like that. But what occurs to me is something that we're not talking about is the patriarchy, what we call the patriarchy, hasn't actually been all that great for men either. And so I really wanted to delve into these different aspects of it, and get past that, just the surface talk, the slogans that we hear all the time, and really look at this. It hasn't been good for humanity. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, what I love about it is you're taking, as you always do, both perspectives into consideration. And I think that I think it's very confusing for people younger than 20 right now on roles or set roles. When I was growing up, you knew who you were, and you were raised the way you were. I mean, it just wasn't, there wasn't such confusion or such need to have a label or terminology or any of that. And I think it's even harder for men now because they have role models that are, you know, the hunter gatherer, manly men for the most part. And here they're coming out going, well, I can't be too masculine because then she might not like me, but I can't be too sensitive, you know. So I'm gonna enjoy watching that because it's got to be challenging for guys right now.
Yeah, and I think that's where we have to have the discussion, because we do use a lot of labels about a lot of things, about what, you know, we use the labels, and then we use a lot of shame to get people to conform to whatever label it is that's popular. And, you know, if I kind of look at it, a lot of the advertising that goes on, you have to have a niche. If you're going to advertise to a certain, you have to have a market. And in order to have a market, you got to have a label. You got to know who you're sending this to. So, I mean, if you're trying to sell stinky deodorant stuff, you got to have a big old macho man that's really sweaty and stuff, right? You can't have just a regular guy who actually sweats just like anybody else, or a woman, the same thing. We're being so manipulated all the time with labels about, you know, you hear real men do this, real women do this, or don't do this. We're real, we're human beings, and if you are happen to be of one gender or the other, you're still real no matter what you do. It's silly that we say that to people.
I think it's really interesting. You and I are very similar in thinking. You know how much I hate TV, and every show I have to preface to turn it off, kill it, unplug, whatever. But as I grow older, because our generation's like the last generation not to have this convoluted conversation, I've noticed that no matter where we go, whether it's riding in the car, listening to the radio, which I don't do anymore because it's commercialized, you go to drive down the street and there's billboards and commercials everywhere. There's nowhere you can go that is free from that mental harassment. And all of these advertisements actually play off of our fears and our insecurities. That's what makes companies money, is your insecurity and your fear, your not enough
Yes.
ideology.
Yeah.
And, you know, Catherine and I and so many other people really try to strive to teach the enough. You are enough. You're absolutely enough. And you don't need any of that stuff. But it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, isn't it?
Well, and the thing is, it's perfectly wonderful if you have that desire to, if you want something, if you know, I think this is one of the things that this isolation situation has allowed for some people to realize, were they actually coloring their hair because they liked it, or because they were afraid of being rejected if they were seen for who they really were out in the world? And so the people who are, you know, it's like, you heard about it right at the beginning. It was like all over social media. Oh, in a few weeks, we're going to see all the roots, you know, like this is going to be a terrible thing. Well, so what? If women are coloring their hair because they want to, because they like it, then great. And when you're in your home and you realize, I don't have to put makeup on to love what I see in the mirror. For some people, it may be the first time they've ever spent a long period of time without makeup and hair and nails and all that kind of stuff, which a lot of us do because we're told we have to for the workplace, for the public persona, and other people never did it. And they're perfectly functioning human beings and wonderful people, and they're okay with it. But it's, what did we buy? Did we buy into the I'm not enough, so I have to do this? Or did we buy into the idea that, hey, I like the way this feels. I like doing this. This is for me. I do this for me. And I think we're beginning to have those opportunities to be, everything's turned off, everything's unplugged. I mean, initially, I think there was panic because people weren't used to that, being at home. And actually, I think that would be a wake-up call for some people. It's like, man, this is what I created. I haven't been here. You know, you get up in the morning, grab your coffee, get in your car, go through your drive-through, get your muffin, whatever, on your way to work, come home, do dishes, laundry, or whatever you do, but you don't actually see the home you've created. And when you're stuck in there and you're looking around, you've got your kids, your spouse, dog, whatever it is, all 24 hours a day, no relief, you start to recognize, this is what I created. This is the world this is supposed to be my sanctuary from the world. Is it? It gives us that opportunity to see what we created and what we've been bringing in from outside or not.
And that in itself, I think, is what's caused this craziness that's happening. People are so used to being busy and hiding who they really are and hiding their feelings and just go and constantly on this rinse cycle and repeat cycle, you know? And now all of a sudden everything stops, and then you get to hear and bear witness and feel and experience and express all of this stuff that you've hidden really well for a really long time. And in that, it's been interesting to do this little mini series, because eventually it's going to turn into a documentary. All over the world, everyone is expressing some form of grief, some form of guilt, some form of reflection. And that introspection has been phenomenal, because a lot of people are doing wonderful things with this time in servitude, or changing their inner dialogue, changing their habits. And some people are just drinking too much, smoking too much, doing drugs, and trying to get that silence back.
But it is the same with really everything in life. And I hate to say that the more trauma that you experience, the more resilient you can become. But sometimes that is the case. It's like practicing. It's like fire drills. It's like anything you've been through a few times, where you've been without. Maybe you didn't have a home at all, or maybe you didn't have money, and it's not your first time going through that. But for people who've never gone through it, who've always grown up in a family that had access to whatever they wanted, had access to people, to money, to resources, to whatever it might be, this would be the first time for some of them to feel that cage-like situation where they did not have freedom. Maybe for some people, this has never happened, that they couldn't go wherever they wanted to go, or they couldn't buy whatever they wanted if they had the money, or they couldn't, because a lot of things stopped. It's not so much whether you had the money or you didn't. You couldn't go into those stores. You couldn't go out for dinner. This is an experience a lot of people have never had, whereas other people, it's the place where you get to see that old, but for the grace of God go I. And that saying has been around forever, but it has been very difficult for many people to understand what that really meant. And wouldn't wish some of the things that have happened to me in my life on anyone, because I went through it because I went through it. It was my life. It's my life. That we all go through whatever we need to. But I do think that there's a place where we can't walk in anyone else's shoes. We never can. That we try
we can have some empathy in that way, compassion, listen, to find that understanding. But to truly walk in someone else's shoes, you can't do it. So this kind of experience is helping all of us who are open to. Some people are not going to see anything at all except for the fact that they're being denied what they want. That's what they're going to see. And that's their experience. Right or wrong, that is their experience. But for other people, they know now what isolation is. They know now what the person on the street who people walk by every day and never see, the people in those seniors' homes who, for whatever reason, they don't have family, or they can't get out, or they haven't gotten out for years. They've been living in those situations, or they have physical limitations where they don't get to go out and socialize. Now we can relate a lot better, even though this is a short period of time compared to what some of these people have been living with. This is when our humanity is really, this is when we recognize, oh my goodness, it's true. I remember saying to some young people years ago, I was speaking in a classroom, and it was an affluent area. And some of these kids, you could tell, had come from generation of entitlement, in the sense of they believed that what their parents told them, we worked hard, this is, if other people could work just as hard as us and have this good life. And now we can see how circumstances can change that for everybody. You can work as hard as you want. If you can't leave your house, or if you can't eat, or if the places you're working are contaminated, or not safe to work, those are situations that some people never considered. Why we have labor laws, why unions were so important to the shifting of our way we allowed people to be to access employment rather than being slaves or being abused, to shift that. We had those times, but unless you read history, and I mean, you read history and then you read someone else's versions of history, and you keep digging, because, history's always been written by people who had access to publishers and books, and not like today, but our history was written by those who often wanted us to hear a certain side of the story. So you have to look to find all those sides. And I think this is what this whole shift we're experiencing. We're going through a shift on this planet, and whether you believe in that kind of thing or not, I do believe we are moving into the fifth dimension, which is a higher vibration, and that vibration is love, the most powerful vibration there is. But you cannot go from point A to point Z without having to go through all those shifts to get there. And we're going through one right now where people don't want to go. They don't want to go. It's like, I know this, even though it's sort of, they say, the devil, people get used to it. And I've adjusted to this, but it isn't normal. People are saying, I want to get back to normal. What we were living, by most standards, if you really look at the quality of life for humanity and what we were doing to our planet, this was not normal. It was our normal. We turned the absolute not normal into expected, and we're using the word normal, and it's not normal to house people the way we have, that so many people homeless, all of those things. They're not normal. They're not. And I think about, we should all believe we're entitled to thrive on this planet. What we have with the people who have a sense of entitlement, it's not that they're believing everyone is entitled. They're believing specific people are entitled to thrive. And to me, I'm watching the robins. It's in Canada, spring, the robins are our big sign. This could be spring. It might not be, but it could be. And they're building their nests. But you know what? so are the crows and the eagles and all kinds of other animals have just as much right and entitlement as others. And I think that's where we've kind of, if we didn't know this is what I think we're evolving to. I think we've always thought certain people had more right on this planet than others.
I think it's interesting because, you know, if you do study history and the variations of history, I like how you put that because it's very accurate. It's intriguing to look at all species and how they have changed courses over thousands and thousands of years. And primarily the courses changed for food, shelter, weather reasons. And humans are very much the same. We're very nomadic and we do what we need to do in order to survive. It's an innate part of who we are. What this shift has done, at least for me, has made me very happy because I am bearing witness to truth like no other. I mean, we are seeing the authenticity of people. We're seeing the true colors of a variety of people, right or wrong. It's not a judgment. It's who they really are and what they really truly believe. And through chaos, there's always beauty. I think chaos is just mixing the batter before the cake gets to be put in the oven, right? So I think we're mixing our batter.
Birth is messy. Anything we're creating is messy. And it's got all those, you grieve the old that is no more. And I think that's a very natural, in anything, whether it's a death of a loved one, whether it's a death of a job, a marriage, a relationship, or an idea. There's a grief when you have had a dream for a long time that you think something is a certain way, and then you absolutely finally find out it's never going to happen. Or, you know, you're going to go through that denial first, the sorrow, the anger, try to blame somebody, try to make it somebody was responsible, and then finally come to a point where you accept that maybe it wasn't anyone's fault, and maybe it actually happened for my growth. Maybe I was meant to walk that path and jump those hurdles and do all that simply so I could grow, you know. And that's why I always say, your philosophy of life, what you believe you're here for, how you look at it, so influences everything that happens. Everything. If you're believing that you came to this planet to get the most goods, to prove how great you were, to try to avoid death as much as possible, and you're not going to really live, because you're constantly worrying about the dying process. And if you're here, if you know you're dying, you're going to die, you don't know when, you can embrace the, I'm here and I'm going to thrive. It reminds me of the ride at the, the fair. When I used to, when I was a kid, and the Ferris wheel would come around, I was nervous, I was excited, I was going to get on it. I was stood in the line, I bought my ticket, I'm with everybody else, and I watch how many times, see people get on and see how many times that thing went around. And it seemed like sometimes people got to go around 4 times, some went 2, I don't know, the guy at the wheel that pulled the stop and made people get off, I could never tell how many times a person was going around. And I was always hoping I'd get to go around a lot of times. Now, if I get on that Ferris wheel and I start counting, I went once, I went twice, I went 3 times, damn it, I'm getting off now. What have I done? I've spent the whole time in anticipation. I'm going to get on and then he's going to make me get off. I'm sure he's going to make me get off early. I'm never going to have a good time on there because he's going to make me get off early, right? And so as opposed to the person who gets on that ride, has no idea how long it's going to last, throwing their arms in the air, look what I can see, look what I can do, how much fun this is. Boom, you get off and you're on a high. I had a ball. I don't feel I was cheated. I don't feel I missed anything. It was rocking and rolling when we were at the top. Wasn't that fun? No, I was scared to death. I know, but that was fun, That's how life is to me. And it's like, I think I see a lot of people who are standing in the line bitching about not having enough, not doing enough, not enjoying enough, and that it's somebody else's fault. That man on the wheel who's all the grim reaper is going to take away my stuff, and you're missing all the fun.
Yeah, you are absolutely missing all the fun. I live in Jurassic Park. I live in the tropical paradise. I have more dinosaurs than you can imagine.
I saw your big turtle there the other day.
It's so grumpy. Anyway, so, it's so beautiful, and there's this cacophony of life, and I'm in love. I'm in love with every aspect of being alive. And there are not enough words to really convey what it feels like when you truly feel in love. And there's so many grumpy people down here, Catherine. Boy, are they grumpy. Beeping the horns, angry. I'm like,
they're everywhere.
But we got rainbows and dolphins and dinosaurs. This is so cool.
I know, but this is the thing, right? It is always a matter of your point of view. It is going to always be your cup is half full or half empty story. But I look at my cup here. Now, you can't tell from looking at it whether it's half full or half empty as far as liquid goes. But this cup is always full. And whether it's got liquid or air, it's always full. And so I think that's where we get messed up, thinking that the guy over there's got more than me, or they deserve more than they get, or just always comparison. We've been taught that. And I think that's what the shift is actually all about, is letting go of our competitiveness. We're saturated with motivational information all day long. And I find it hilarious because the very people who will say, you are enough, you're the best, you're wonderful, and then 6 or 7 posts later, who the F are you people, you stupid idiots, you're doing this and you're doing that, and it's like we're watching a kind of a split personalities in so many people. I mean, I see it myself too. It's like you get frustrated, you get because we're watching the old and the new at the same time. It is that birthing process. You're in the middle of your labor pains. Your water's broken. It's pretty messy. You're a little scared, but you know that there's something good is coming. You think it is anyway. And instead of us, I just don't think there's any point in really criticizing a lot of people, even for their fear, because it is fear. I see we're talking about freedom of speech right now. Actually, I did a podcast last night about this, about truth and power. And because I really can see it isn't freedom of speech that we're so hell-bent on. It's this absolute fear that someone else's speech is going to cause others to believe it and people to take action that's going to threaten my life. It's saying what you believe. A thought is not scary, but we're afraid of other people's thoughts. And it's okay as long as we don't know they're having them. But if they speak about them, we want them to be quiet. Don't speak about scary thoughts or ideas that don't fit with our group think, whatever that group think is, because we have a million groups. If you're from the woman group, you have to speak like a woman and talk about, which is absolutely absurd because we all women have different points of view. But I really noticed that it's like people are getting upset that there's misinformation being shared. Okay, which one is the misinformation? It's just information. It's just information until you accept it and review it and look at it, and then you can decide for yourself, is it misinformation or not misinformation? Do I have to act on it or not act on it? But
I think that's what's really made a lot of the trauma surrounding the pandemic worse, because instead of just saying, okay, well, that's a person's opinion, that's their perspective, which most of us do, there are a handful of people that feel like it's
a threat.
It's a threat to what their personal beliefs are, and it's made things a lot more caustic. And I think in that other version of chaos, there will be beauty in the end, but not to get wrapped up into that stuff. Unfortunately, we've only got a couple more minutes, but I want people to find you. I want them to listen to your podcast because...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The best way to do it is go to my website. All the links to my social media, to my new YouTube channel, to my podcasts are there. And that is either just straight by my name, CatherineWhelanCosten.com, or LGRCC.com, which stands for Let's Get Real Chatting with Catherine.com.
Yes, I was on that show 5, 6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's still on Blog Talk.
Yeah.
The archives are still there, and a lot of them are on the YouTube channel as well. It was fun, and
yeah,
everything. This is fun. It's fun to connect with you. I so appreciate you chatting with me today and exploring these topics, because I think that's how we're going to evolve, by communicating with each other.
And what's wonderful is it's all about perspective and empathy and compassion and looking at, I don't even like the word real. It's just looking at the information and saying, okay, this I want to dig into, that I want to dig into. I'm just going to ignore that. I do that a lot. Yeah, sorry. It's not my brain.
We have to be able to communicate and to hear other people and connect heart to heart. And that's how we're going to change our reality. We're not going to change other people. It's just not.
Nope. Oh, you are so beautiful. I missed you so much. I'm so glad you had time for me today.
You bet. Anytime, Rustie.
I'm really excited about all the work that you're doing and everything that you're doing to inspire other people. Because like I always say, we're a big bag of water surfing on a big giant rock. We are hypocrites. We're filled with dichotomy. And that's the beautiful experience, is to sort through all of that, right?
Yes, evolution is messy.
Well, I love you.
I love you too. Thank you. And thanks to all your listeners. Bye-bye.
You're watching Living and Thriving with Rustie, and I'm Rustie. And oh my God, I cannot even tell you how much I love that woman. She's a pave maker, path changer for people. So go check her out. Her link will be around here somewhere. Remember, living and thriving is more than just eating bad food, or maybe if you're good food. I know my zipper is practicing social distance since I've been home cooking, because that's all I love, cooking. Anyway, some of the takeaways that we've had going all over the world, finding out what people are doing during this time, is what's your passion? What sets your soul on fire? What do you have in your house that allows you to be creative? Go break some glasses and glue them back together on a board. I mean, everybody's got something you can be creative with. And quite honestly, you can make glue out of a little bit of water and wheat flour, unless you're a celiac. Don't try the coconut flour. It doesn't work. I already tried. What are you doing to be of service? I sit here and spend my morning writing letters to people all over the world. That helps the post office, and that helps cheer people up, because we don't actually get handwritten letters. I know that nobody can read my handwriting, but that's not the point. You smile when you see a letter. Routines. What are you doing for routines? I told you last week, vacation time is over. Brush your teeth, brush your hair, change your shirt. Get up at the same time every day. Do something productive. Get back into practicing life. Life is beautiful. Last but not least, gratitude and blessings. What are you doing in order to honor your gratitude and your blessings? Everybody reads my Facebook posts every morning. They know how much I love the fact that I get to be ornery. Everybody knows I have a Nerf gun next to my bed just in case I want to be even more ornery. So what do you do for gratitudes and blessings? Know that I love you. Know that you're beautiful. Know that we're in this together. We're going to win this together. Or unless you want to take a nap, that's okay too. Until next time.